Good afternoon. It is Barbara, the East Coast Dragon Lady, with my weekly post. I think this will probably turn into 2 videos because as I was this morning, as always, like when I'm sort of getting myself sorted out before I come on to do these, I was getting lots of quick messages, like really fast. And I'm going to tell you about what's happened to me this week, but then it's going to take me into some of the things that have been suggested. So I'm actually going to propose a challenge for us for next week. And this is about self-love. So let me tell you, if you follow me on Facebook, you will know, if you're on on either page, I've talked a lot about my little old dog, or my old man, as I used to call him, who was 14 years old and beginning of the week really was not doing well. And I think he's been, if I'm honest, this past month, there's been a slow deterioration. He was diabetic, he lost his vision, he'd got liver and kidney. Diabetes after a couple of years with little dogs, do real. And he'd lost most of his body fat and muscle because it was really hard to stabilize his diabetes because he usually ran with pretty high blood sugar. So we'd also decided about, I would say last year when he landed up in the emergency vet and then in the hospital for about 4 days, we made the decision then, after they were making all sorts of suggestions about endocrinologists and blah, blah, blah. And we're like, this dog, we're not going to put him through anything else. Let's keep him stable. Let's keep him comfortable, And, he'd perked up. He liked his walks. As he was getting older, he sometimes would want to go out for a couple of walks, and other times he would make it out the back, or we'd get up the hill and he'd be like, nope, we're going back again. So I did everything to keep him comfortable. And say, if you followed me for a few years, there have been lots of ups and downs with him, but we got to the point where we were preparing ourselves for his transition. And it was always like, oh, let's see how next week goes. Let's see how next week goes. Had a couple of scares for a couple of weekends where he really wasn't well. And we were like, let's wait for tomorrow. And tomorrow he'd be like, okay, I'm eating, let's go for a walk. So Monday he had his yearly physical. So as a good dog parent, I took him to the vet. And the first thing she said was she hadn't seen him for probably about a month. And she was like, oh my goodness, he is so skinny. I'd also been I bought some dog t-shirts, and because it was sad to see him. You could see his backbone, you could see his ribs with his sort of bit of a bloated belly, and it was just sad. And his skin, the hair, he was min-pin, so it rubbed off. He was losing hair, basically. So I'm like, let's just putting him some fun t-shirts. So he had some really neat t-shirts, which he, okay, you're human, you can put me in a t-shirt. But he liked them, and when it was cold, I had some warm ones for him. So, like all dog parents, we spoiled him, right? So Monday I took him, and he really hadn't been doing well that day, but he tolerated the vet. And her words were, what do you want me to do today? And I said, nothing. And I told her that we had been preparing for the fact that one morning we were going to call and say, the time's come. And she said, I'm not going to take blood. I'm not going to do any of that. He did need a rabies shot because it was running out. She said, that's all I'm going to do. And then you tell me. And I'm like, no, let's just leave it. So I got him home, took him out the car, put him down, and all 4 limbs just stopped working. He literally couldn't walk. And when he did, he was very disoriented, was very, very shaky. Got him in, tried to get him to eat, and he just wasn't right. And we were like, we've just come back from the vet. And my other son was like, you've just come back from the vets. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on with him. So he literally he did eat, he had his insulin and all that stuff. And but he spent that evening a good 45 minutes, an hour, pacing. And often animals, when they know their time's coming, will pace. I've had this with other dogs that they won't lie down because they know it's the last time they're going to lie down. And then he started trying to go through my closet. I mean, he just was doing some very strange things. And eventually I settled him down with his gabapentin. And eventually he went to sleep, and he actually slept all night. And when I woke up in the morning, it was later than normal because he always had me up at like 6:30. And he was in a deep, deep sleep. And I'm like, I'm not going to disturb him. You know, when he's ready, I'll feed him. And eventually he made it down the stairs and went out to pee like normal. He actually ate, but he wasn't right. And then he started, you know, he just literally just fell apart. And we said, I think that by like 11 o'clock, it was very obvious to us that he was in distress. And you could tell he was asking for help. I was also in the middle of a healing session that I was having. And she picked up, she was like, there's a little dragon that has just appeared for Diesel. And I was like, oh my goodness. And it was this purple dragon. I actually saw it that appeared to be with him and like curled up with him. And he really settled down. I made the phone call to the vet. I got hold of my vet, who of course, you know, wasn't open that morning, which I didn't know. But anyway, we got an appointment for 1:30. And, you know, that dragon coming for him just really settled him down. We took him to the vet and he passed. But that dragon was with him when he crossed the Rainbow Bridge. And what the dragon told me was, and we'd always known, I'd been told a few years ago, one of my dragons was questioning my little dragon. And I was like, no, this is a dog. I had to explain what a dog was. And they were like, no, this is a dragon and you're restraining him. And I'm like, no, he's a dog in this life. So when he was sick, some of you also picked up on the fact that he was a dragon. He was a small dragon. And he had been overexerting himself. So when he got across the Rainbow Bridge, he actually got his wings, was what I was taught. I was shown him with wings. So he's a little dog with wings, and he's now a dragon. He's the dog, but he's also a dragon, right? He shapeshifts like a lot of, like Merlin's here going, well, I shapeshift. So he crossed the Rainbow Bridge, and he's so happy. And then we know that when our animals and when we cross, you know, our relatives come. And I've had a few dogs over the years. I also fostered, and I've had various animals that have passed and have gone across the Rainbow Bridge. So I knew that they would all come and greet him. Yesterday it was, so a couple of days later, on Facebook, every single one of my dogs that had passed, and some of them were foster dogs, appeared on my feed, every single one of them. And they were just reminding me that they were there to welcome Diesel. So as sad as it is, it also makes us feel better knowing that all of those dogs that loved us were also there for him. So any of you that have had the loss of an animal, you know it's never easy. I've lost cats as well. It's never easy, but we know we make that decision for them. So also, I think with my connection recently with the fairy realm was also part of that. So what's come out of that for me is that like we do all of this for our animals, and we do it for other people as well. We make those decisions for our loved ones. And it keeps coming back to me, and this is some of the work that I'm doing myself. I've also posted this week several podcasts that I've been watching from various people that have all been like confirming the things that I've been saying. And a lot I hear all the time is we have to go in. We have to go in here. We've got to go in and heal ourselves and do all of that stuff that I've been talking about. So if you're on my private Facebook page, I've posted several of them there. There was a post just now that I put in about these 3 days of darkness, which are not coming now, but it's just for us to prepare. But what I got was I also had, so as part of all of my week, so the dog passing on Tuesday, on Wednesday, I was with the group that I belong to, and we got a galactic healing. Now, over the years, I've connected with many galactics. I've done some work with Dr. Lisa Thompson, connected to a lot of those galactic beings. The one collective that I was never really sure of, it was just that the mantis, and some of you may be part of that. But for me, the mantis, they're very tall, thin, like 7 feet tall, really, really big, very long legs, very long arms. And they feel very sort of like, I felt like they were standing over me, sort of claustrophobic sort of feeling. Twice now, they've come to me as to heal me. And on Wednesday, our group got a galactic healing. And sure enough, the mantis were there to heal the left side of me. So the healing I was getting on Tuesday, I was getting some also physical healing, and it was on my left side. And the mantis were working on that as well. And then they told me after the healing that the mantis people were my galactic healers. And I was like, oh, that's why they always appear. So they're my healers. And I think a lot of us, we all know we have galactic connections. So interesting, sometimes when they're not the sort of, it's a bit like with humans, sometimes we're not too sure about somebody, but they turn out to be really good. So that was my bit about, so I got some galactic healing as well. And then as part of my, of what I'm doing for myself, this self-love keeps coming up. So they said, why don't you do a 5-day challenge? So I'm going to do a separate video, and I'm going to post one every day for the next they told me 5 days of like literally the challenge is what one thing, you can do more than one thing, but what one thing can you do for yourself today that is self-love, right? And it could be going to get a massage, or it could be as simple as having 5 minutes to yourself. I mean, some of us have hectic days, but it's finding that peaceful, that 5 minutes. Maybe it's the time to do some meditation. I try and do DCT every day, and that's literally connecting myself to the center of the earth. I'm also like literally practicing omnism, like I'm connected to everything. So that is something that has become much stronger this week. So I'm going to do a separate video. I want to do some cards for us for the week. This week has been very fairy, I'm saying fairy heavy, and they're sort of all sitting here. I've got them all sort of like here. If you can see, I've got all these like fairies and butterflies and what else is there? I know all sorts of they're saying we're waking up. Well, here today, you wouldn't think it was spring. It snowed, and we woke up to probably half an inch of snow. So I don't know what happened to spring for us in the northeast. New Hampshire also got a good, more than a dusting of snow. I think it could have been a flurry to sort of up to 3 inches. I haven't really looked at the rest. Also, there's been a lot of divine male energy coming in. And of course, today is, if I'm right, tonight is the pink full moon. I don't know if I'll see the moon tonight. I completely missed the full moon last time. And we've had a lot of pretty intense energy from the moon. There's a lot going on in the galaxies, which I'm not an astrologer and I don't really understand it, but it often lines up with sometimes the information that I get often will coincide with what's going on the astral plane. But the fairies are very excited that I've been featuring them all week, and the dragons have been there to usually there's a dragon will step forward, and then the rest have been fairy messages. And that's all been about, somebody said that when you connect with the fairies, again, it's about loving ourselves. So let's see what they have to say again today. I've been using The Healing with the Fairies by Doreen Virtue, which is a really old oracle deck, but it's very beautiful. Yesterday I did, and the other thing that I'm absolutely obsessed with, one is Pam Gregory. I love all of her, not just her astrology, but I love her interviews. But the telepathy tapes, I'm literally binge listening to those. And if you haven't heard of them, go and look them up. It's on YouTube. It's audio. So it sort of makes it easier to listen as you're doing other things. Absolutely fascinating about the non-speaking population who have developmental delays, and about how they're telepathically connecting with each other, telepathically connecting to their, usually one carer, which is often a mother, and how they've been testing this. Cards were just about to fly everywhere. So if you haven't checked that out, and that also, I think that brings us all to sort of thinking about about telepathy. It certainly has made me much more interested in telepathy. As you know, I've been doing remote viewing, which is sort of, it's not new. Well, it's new to me right now, but it's something that I've obviously done in other lifetimes. I also can see other lifetimes, and sometimes I'm taken to other parts that sometimes I'm not aware I'm going to go to. But we've been doing some of that in a group I belong to, which is either an object that we say, take a guess. And we're across, actually, not all, there's a few people that are not in the United States having guesses at what it is, which, is fun, but it's also, it's like a muscle. If you don't use it, so we need to reignite that telepathy muscle. You never know when you're going to need it, is what I'm going to say. So let's see what messages the fairies have for this week. So the first one is the magic of nature. This actually came up as being a card that I've had. You can see there are fairies. There's a bubble. I'll put it there for you to look at. So this looks like the fairies in a field, and looks like they're playing. So again, this is about that they have a very playful nature about them. So let's see how the message goes. So the magic of nature. If there wasn't so much mud, I would be going out into nature, but it's a bit cold as well. I kept thinking I was going to go to the beach. Don't know why I was thinking. We had some warm weather. Oh, romantic partner. Well, I don't have one, but you never know when you're going to run into somebody, right? And let's see, romantic partner. Be honest with yourself. I like the colours. I actually pointed that out yesterday about the colour of the cards. They were all very blue, and there's been a lot of blue healing energy coming through. The colour blue. Miracle healing. I've certainly had those this week. And that's another card that's been repeating. So I think, and this one, beauty. So I think that is also speaking to that self-love, right? The looking in the mirror and seeing the beauty that you are. Okay, how many? I should do 2 more cards. And I think this is very much about what we need to know about ourselves. Oh, that's interesting. And the last card I pulled is Happily Ever After. I love that. I've seen some others. There's a picture, I believe it's in Cornwall or in Devon, around Merlin's, where Merlin is. And there's a picture like that, very similar to this. So this reminds me of Merlin. And of course, Merlin's here as well saying, well, of course, because, you know, I'm part of the magic. Oh, there's a unicorn. Oh, that's interesting. There's a unicorn standing up. So you don't very often see a unicorn standing up. That could even be Merlin there, and there's some fairies. So again, I'm going to see. Interesting. But happily ever after. So let me see. What are they saying? So be honest with yourself. The only what's the message around this? They're saying the first step to being honest is to be honest with yourself. There's the dragonfly. Oh, the other thing that's been appearing this week, actually, I think it's been 2 weeks now, a bluebird has appeared on my feeders. And I knew that, I think I've seen, they do come to our area. They're not native of here in the northeast. But he showed up a couple of weeks ago and was hungry. And I see him most days. And I've had the cardinal visiting me. There's actually a family of cardinals. But the male, which is the bright orange one, has been at my feeders and on my fence. And that's always, and again, it's the week that the dog passed. But I think bringing me messages. So be honest with ourselves. The magic of nature, I've been talking about that all of last week. I think continue to connect with nature. I don't know what happened to my voice today. Beauty, as I said, I think this is about us noticing our own beauty, right? Sometimes it means you've got to stand and look at yourself in the mirror. They're very much showing me that. Stand there and you have to believe that you're beautiful, because we're all beautiful inside and out. Romantic partner. I'm not going to predict anything for anybody here, but maybe we should be thinking, if you don't have a romantic partner, or you need to, so all right, so I'm here, they're saying things need to be spiced up, then this card is what it's saying. These are very interesting, sort of, there's a lot going on in this card as well. And miracle healing. I think this is, I see this as time. They're telling me that I often talk about this as well, but this is about that as we heal in this time, we can also heal our past lives, our present, and our future lifetimes. So it is truly about you're not being selfish as you learn to heal yourself inside and out. It's also helping you in past, present, and future lifetimes, that you will heal that and you will not have to deal with what you've brought into this time to heal. And happily ever after. So when we've done all of that, that's our happy ever after. So I think I've gone full circle on that. That's the message for this week, is self-care, self-love, galactic healing. If you need help with any of this, I am available for healings, for guidance. I do a 45-minute clarity call so that we can talk about either to help you clear some things, set you on the right path, do reading for you. I do one-on-one readings, and it can be from any deck that I'm guided to. It could be the dragon deck, it could be the fairies. Oftentimes my guidance will tell me what deck to use. So there's that. My oracle decks are still for sale. Like, here I go with the hiccups again. My oracle deck is for sale. I have plenty of them. $35 for me to ship them to you in the United States. If you're outside of the United States, I can talk to you about shipping. So if you're looking for galactic healing, dragon empowerment healing, dragon chakra healing, all of those things are very available to me, and I'd love to share them with you. So you can reach me at on my website, which is www.eastcoastdragonlady.com, or eastcoastdragonlady@gmail.com. So have a good week, and I'll probably be back in the week. These telepathy tapes, I am like having aha moments all over the place, so I may be back. But be on the lookout for a daily separate post from my cards for the self-love challenge for next week. We'll start on Monday. Have a good week.